What's up, everybody? This is John. We're doing episode 3 of the Megabyte Bros podcast. I'm with my bros, Joseph and Jacob.
What's up?
Hi.
We're going to play Turtles in Time and talk about games and stuff. Do it.
Well, obviously the ones with the forks are the best.
Pretty sure he's low tier.
It's
No.
Donatello all the way.
And use the knives, the forks, whatever they are.
They have the lowest range.
So,
All I have to do is stand halfway across the screen with the staff just pokes up. So, topics this week. Gamescom was this week. There's a lot of stuff that came out of that. Some really cool stuff. We had Devil May Cry gameplay footage come out and another trailer. We had Sekiro Shadows Die Twice gameplay. And they gave influencers or whatever a chance to play it, so a bunch of people just uploaded their own gameplay of it during Gamescom. So let's start off with Devil May Cry 5, because that made the teenager in me just jump with joy. Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to explain how insanely hyped I am for this game. I mean, I didn't need to see gameplay. I was just gonna buy it anyways, because it's Devil May Cry. But oh my goodness. It really seems like Capcom is just letting loose and let's just make a really cool game.
let's just make a game that people will buy. What?
Let's make a game that'll be so stupid and fun that nobody will be able to resist it.
You can fly around on your arm.
You got a rocket arm. You're basically Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid 5, but you can ride your rocket arm instead of just launch it at people.
Ride it around like a skateboard in the air.
It shoots lasers out of it, so I mean, right there already, you're already top tier game for me. Lasers out of your arm, I'm in.
There you go, best game ever made.
Basically,
Game of the year every year.
it has Nero from Devil May Cry 4, and it showed 3 seconds of Dante gameplay, and that made me cry.
It's the greatest thing ever.
He basically, nobody's gonna be cooler than Dante ever in a video game. I've just
Dude, what about Beautiful Joe? He's pretty cool.
Does Beautiful Joe ride a motorcycle?
And then split it in half and turn it into axe?
He doesn't need to.
But, yeah, I haven't watched all the gameplay. I really don't need to. I've watched the 2 trailers, and I've watched 10 minutes of the other gameplay, and that's all I need. I don't need to see any more. I probably will watch more if they release it, just because I'm all aboard that hype train. But, yeah, it makes me so happy to see this game, and see that Capcom's just giving it a chance, and really putting I shouldn't say their foot, really putting their all into it. They're giving it the marketing, the budget, and everything that they need to just make the coolest game ever made, it looks like.
Aren't they using the Resident Evil 7 engine?
Yeah, they are.
I feel ever since Resident Evil 7 was announced, Capcom was like, hey, people like the games we make. Maybe we should make those again.
I've heard it be called the Capcom Redemption arc.
Remember that far into the series?
Basically, they've gone through their horrible downward spiral, and now they're trying to redeem themselves. I think it all kind of started with Monster Hunter World. Everybody loved that game, and then Resident Evil 7 definitely helped it out. It didn't sell as well, I think, as Resident Evil 6, but still, it was a step in the right direction for Capcom.
And it was critically well received.
Yeah.
Everyone who played it loved it.
Just die, Baxter. And
Boom!
they've been really leaning into the old stuff, with Mega Man, and again with Resident Evil going back to its roots as a horror game and not an action game. And they're remaking Resident Evil 2, which looks amazing. Joseph and Jacob were there as proof. I literally screamed at the top of my lungs during the PlayStation showcase once I figured out that it was Resident Evil 2 being shown.
Yeah, it was one of those guys.
I'm literally one of the most annoying people you can watch a press conference with because I freak out, I scream, I yell, I cry. I do all of the emotions. Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games ever, and they're remaking it and it looks gorgeous. Gamescom, they had a Claire gameplay shown at Gamescom. It was like with I can't remember his name, but he's the main bad guy in Resident Evil 2. He has the big eye in his arm. I said it was one of my favorite games. I can't even remember the main bad guy, but I'm playing a game, so give me some slack. I don't think it's like completely finished all the way. There wasn't any music, but the gameplay was pretty polished. The animations looked really good.
I just remember thinking while I was watching it, like she threw like a launched a grenade at it or something and it caught on fire, and afterwards like he was burned, like he had fire damage on him, and like he was still coming at her. I was like, I don't know, that's probably not anything super impressive. I was just like, oh,
I fell down the hole.
I just remember like they didn't even draw attention to it. I was just like, oh, that's really cool. The zombies will take damage.
Claire does look a little weird, but at this point, I don't care. Leon looks perfect. They can take some creative liberties with Claire.
And it's still in development. Capcom has trouble with faces, as Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has shown, but they're good at hearing that and fixing it, so I'm not really worried about that.
All I care about is that it's a scary game that makes me pee my pants when I play it, and I won't be able to sleep after I play it either. And it looks like it's doing that already, just by watching it. The lighting is like perfect. It's so dark and moody, and the zombies look scary, and can't wait. Yeah. Die. There's also, we talked about Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. We double whammied that. They showed some. There's a playable demo of it at Gamescom. Is that good?
No.
Touch?
Yeah.
Oh, what the? Tornado, man. They have a playable demo of it at Gamescom, and I'm kind of jealous because I would love to play that. But
you don't live in Germany.
Yeah. But hey, maybe they'll have a playable demo at PSX, and maybe we can all go to PSX. That'd be cool. But from what I've seen, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice looks a lot like a spiritual successor to Tenchu, plus just more action-oriented. It's not like super stealth. It does have stealth in it, but it's more action-oriented, which is perfect. Everybody that's played it is just in awe of it, and I would be too. I'd probably just sit there and have my mouth agape the whole time. Apparently it's running at 4K at 60 frames per second, so that's the demo that everybody played. I'm sure that's PC, but maybe PS4 Pro and Xbox One X can do that too, and that'd be pretty cool. But I'm a huge fan of From Software. I got hooked onto them after Demon's Souls, and the funny thing about Demon's Souls is that I played it, I got to the mines. I can't remember what they're called right now. My mind always poops out on me. I got to the mines and I got to the fire spider and I couldn't beat it. I couldn't figure it out, so I rage quit. Didn't play it for 6 months. And every time I looked at my game collection, it would just stare at me, make me feel like a little baby. Like, haha, you can't beat me. So finally one day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna beat this game. I don't care. I sat down and I tried and I tried and I tried and I still couldn't beat it. So then I finally looked up a walkthrough online. I kind of wimped out. And I realized by reading the guide online, just like how deep and crazy the
what
game
the-
is. Ah!
In the world.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! 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 No!
Ow!
I hate this part. This part's hard.
Oh my gosh. It's giving me Mega Man X4 flashbacks.
What's up with the freaking aliens? The
Copyright.
So reading the guide let me kind of realize how crazy in depth the game is. They don't teach you. They don't show any of you that. You have to figure it out on your own. And some people hate that. Some people like it. I'm in both sides. Like I can see why it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's so rewarding once you figure it out. It was even rewarding for me just like reading it online and then figuring it out. But probably not as much as like I actually, figured it out without reading a guide. But the sense of accomplishment you get from their games is unparalleled. The sense of mastery, the sense of like you leveling up as a player, sense of you like overcoming challenges, like I don't know. I could go on and on and on about FromSoft games, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne. Bloodborne's one of my favorite games of all time. Sekiro looks like it's probably going to be up there too. It takes away the RPG elements, which I'm kind of scared about because that was a big crutch for me. Whenever I get in a hard spot, I just grind for souls and level up, and then I can beat it. So I'm actually going to have to actually really get good instead of just leveling up. But yeah, if you're into FromSoft games, I'm sure there's somebody you follow that plays them, like Epic Name Bro or VatiVidya or even like Iron Pineapple. He probably even has like gameplay of it up. I'm sure they had him come and look at it. So you can go look at it and get it in detail and how the game is, how it plays. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Both Devil May Cry 5 and Sekiro come out in March next year. So March is already going to be a crazy month.
Yeah.
It seems that game publishers just try to ruin our lives together. They don't get together and say, hey, let's just pick one month and just destroy everybody. They won't be able to get out of work, they won't be able to do anything, they'll just buy our games and hate life. Because they can't do anything else.
They'll get together with all the other game companies.
For real, it's like a secret organization. We have to pick one month out of the year where we just take them all for their money.
Stuff. This year was September, but then a couple games got delayed.
Earlier this year was like February,
Yeah.
or something like that, where everything was like coming out at once. But yeah.
One other thing that happened at Gamescom was they showed some Smash gameplay of King K. Rool. And because, he was just the newly announced character. And there isn't much to talk about, it was just like a 2-minute video. But King K. Rool is like this big fat crocodile without a tail, and he's somehow super fast.
Yeah.
And he's got like this drop kick in the air. It's not really a drop kick, but like, I don't know, if you follow Smash, you've probably seen the video. And where King K. Rool shoots out his cannonball, Snake dodges it, and then he kicks Snake into the cannonball and kills him, and it's the coolest thing ever. I don't know, I just wanted to mention how cool that was, and how excited I am to play as King K. Rool.
Yeah. He's definitely top tier now. He's not a slow character.
Just gonna beat with my stick.
I've watched some, like, Esam and Zero talk about King K. Rool, and they're like, I was expecting him to just be a fat, slow character that you juggle really easily, and then he's not. Like, he might not be a super top tier character, but he's definitely competitively viable, and no one expected that when he was first announced. It was really exciting. You're just gonna keep shocking yourself, aren't you?
You get in the door.
Also, like basically right after we recorded the last podcast, the Spyro trilogy got delayed. It's not too much It's
just
like a
until
month.
November.
It's like a month or something like that.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people are thinking, like, oh, they need to delay it to fix something, but my guess, and, like, everybody else's guess, mostly is that, like, they're just putting all 3 games into one disc.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely it.
I think it was Yang Ye who had a source that said that's explicitly why, but it's unconfirmed. You can't take that as gospel, and it still might not happen if the delay wasn't long enough. But it still seems like that's why they would do it. That it just wasn't going to be all finished, and so they needed to delay it to get all the games on the disc and to just finish the games altogether. They probably did. It seems like maybe Spiral 3 wasn't done yet.
Yeah. Like, most of the response for the delay was positive, but I have seen, like, some negative stuff, like, oh no, it's delayed, and oh no, like, everyone...
Are you guys worried? I'm worried. I was like, no.
Yeah, like, not really, this is awesome.
Put it all on disc, and it's the greatest thing ever.
I remember watching a video that, like, tried to go into, like, the confirmed sizes of, like, the game on, like, the Xbox store, and they were like, the game takes up 20 gigs or something, and they want you to save, like, so much amount of space for the hard drive for a day 1 patch, and he concluded, like, the day 1 patch was probably going to be, like, 16 gigs or something like that.
Jeez.
And he said that he thought that all 3 games were going to be on the disc, but that was just, like, the day 1 patch was to be, like, all the bug fixes for all 3 games, and, like, all the, like, stuff that they couldn't fit into the disc, basically. So, like, I don't know. But then the delay got announced, and, like, I saw a comment on that video. I wanted to look at that video just to see the comments, so I'm like, you were wrong. But he was like, it looks like maybe I was wrong. And I was like, oh, he admitted it. Never mind. Die! You want to play?
Dinosaurs!
So there has been some stuff going on with Soul Calibur 6, it looks like. They had some messaging errors, it looks like. They announced, like, pre-order this and get this, and you get this without pre-orders and get this with the season pass, and they've also announced characters before they've announced the whole rosters. They've announced DLC characters before they've announced the whole roster that's going to come with the game. So people are kind of miffed. I get that, but at the same time, it's almost expected now.
Especially in fighting games.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fighters did it.
Yeah.
And everyone was still mad at that, but, like, not as
still
mad.
sold.
Like, when Marvel vs. Capcom announced it, people were like, Capcom is worse than Hitler, but then Fighters did it, and people were, like, mad, but they're like, oh, whatever, we'll buy it anyway.
Well, I think the problem so much with it is, with Soul Calibur, there was a lot of miscommunication with Tira. They just, I don't know why, but they kept misinforming, and they finally had to make a clarification that you get Tira either by buying the season pass or as day 1 DLC if you just want her, and not the season pass. And people were mad because we don't even know all the characters who are in the game. Like, yeah, that's. And with Marvel vs. Capcom, people were mad because they announced a character that everyone wanted, and he was DLC, and we still didn't know everything. And with
Fighters, I think
at
they
least
just
with
announced
Fighters,
the pass.
they just announced that there was going to be a pass. They didn't say, and these are the characters on the pass, so you can be disappointed that they aren't really a full game. But yeah, it's. I don't know. DLC practices you're never going to do them in a way that makes everyone happy, but this one was a really big mess up. But, I mean, it's Soul Calibur 6, and they're doing that whole create a hero thing again, and you can make your own character, and they will be able to go through their own story mode, and there's so much in it that looks just really good. But then they
Freaking dinosaurs!
made some really stupid, like, just accidental PR problems. But it's people are still going to buy it. It's Soul Calibur, and it looks like it's finally going to what Soul Calibur should have been for a long time. We haven't had a Soul Calibur in a long time.
Yeah, I think the last one was in like PS. Was it PS? Like the beginning of the PS3 cycle?
Yeah, something like that. Soul Calibur, like, no, Soul Calibur 5 happened, and I don't even remember when it. I just know that it exists because this one is Soul Calibur 6. That's literally all I know about Soul Calibur 5. So that one didn't do very well, as far as I know, but everyone's excited for Soul Calibur 6 because it looks like a return to form.
Get it? We're history and we're back in time.
Boom!
And he's like a dinosaur turtle.
So, we're gonna give Joseph some time to just fully nerd out and go crazy about Dragon Quest 11
11!
coming out next week.
You know how long it's been since the last time we got a main Dragon Quest game in America? Like, we've gotten a whole bunch of remakes on the DS and the 3DS. We got 4 through 8 on the DS and 3DS over the last, I don't know, decade. But the last main Dragon Quest game that we got in the States was Dragon Quest 9. And it was on a DS. And then Dragon Quest X happened, and it never got localized, and it never will, because it's an MMO. And then they announced Dragon Quest 11, and I was, for a long time, just wondering if this was ever going to come to America. Because they don't have a good track record. They've been getting better, though, and I think the sales for all the spin-off games and the re-releases have been picking up at least a little bit. Because we're finally getting Dragon Quest 11, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's been out in Japan for like a year because it takes forever for us to get Dragon Quest, and everyone who's played it in Japan say it's the best Dragon Quest, and I'm so excited. It got a perfect Famitsu score, which maybe isn't saying much anymore, but it's still looking so good. We're only getting the PS4 version, and honestly, if they had brought the 3DS version, I would have bought both, because I'm a huge Dragon Quest fan. But just the fact that we're getting it at all is just wonderful and amazing. And if you like classic JRPGs, like if you liked Octopath Traveler and are hungry for more JRPGs, and you also have a PS4 or a PC, because it's coming out on Steam, which is the first time for a mainline Dragon Quest game as well. This is a classic JRPG, and it's what defined the JRPG genre. Dragon Quest 1 was one of the first, if not the first, Dragon Quest or JRPG ever, and they've stuck to being. It's a classic series. They don't modernize like Final Fantasy does. Like Final Fantasy's gone action RPG, and it changes things up every series, which is good. I still like the way Final Fantasy does it, but it's nice to have Dragon Quest to always go back to. It will always be classic turn-based RPGs, and this one is looking to be the best yet. I don't know if it'll be able to surpass 8. 8 might be one of my favorite games ever, but it's certainly going to try. And it's coming out September 4th, which is like, I don't know, next week or the week after, depending on. I don't know. I don't. I'd have to look at a calendar.
But it's Tuesday, right?
Something like that. And it's. I got the special edition pre-ordered from the Square Enix store, and they've told me that they've taken the money for it now, which means it's shipping, and I'm super excited. And I might not do very well in school that week, but. I'm so excited for it. It's been such a long time since I've been able to play a new Dragon Quest game. The last 5 years, I've just been able to play re-releases, which is good because I never got to play like Dragon Quest 7 when it originally came out. But it's Dragon Quest 11 looks gorgeous. It's, I don't know, like Dragon Ball Fighters. is the same style. It's Akira Toriyama, and from what I hear, it's putting fighters to shame with how beautiful it is, and that's saying a lot.
Maybe not to shame.
It's just, I don't know, it's really beautiful. Everything I've seen, it just looks so good, and it it's, I don't know, I'm so excited. I can't contain myself, so I'll shut up now. I've been talking, I don't know, gushing, but yeah, Dragon Quest XI, you should definitely go buy it, and so that it'll sell a lot, so Square Enix can keep bringing them to the West.
It's okay, I gushed about Spider-Man for probably like 20 minutes last week. Spider-Man's coming out a couple days later, so Joseph's going to be playing Dragon Quest, I'm going to play Spider-Man. So the main topic we're going to get into this time is something you love that everybody else hates. It can be a game, a movie, a book, comic, anime, whatever. If you have multiple, that's cool. I'm probably going to say multiple. I'll just go ahead and start it off with a movie. And I'll admit I haven't watched this movie in years, like probably 10 years or so. But it still holds a soft place in my heart. And that's the live-action Mario Bros. Movie. I remember as a kid, I would rent that movie at least once a week.
I remember that.
From our local grocery store. It wasn't like a normal like Walmart or anything. It was like a mom and pop grocery store, and they had just like this little section that was like a little corner of the store where you could rent movies. And I would rent Mario Bros. Every week. I would earn my allowance and use that to rent Mario Bros. I'm not kidding. And I know some of you probably already, the one person that listens to this is probably already cringing and going, that's disgusting and horrible, and I've probably lost your respect, and that's okay. I accept that. But something about it, I wasn't a teenager yet, because we were living in Provo, so it must have been like 9 or 10, maybe 8. Something about that movie made Kid John so happy. The freaking, I don't even know what you'd call them, they're super jump boots. They try to make their insane jumping like logical, but not logical at the same time. I love the Koopa Troopas, like those stupid little small heads. I remember that was like my favorite thing. They had these ginormous bodies, but their heads were so tiny. I loved Yoshi, even though he was some like horrific dinosaur that wasn't cute at all. I loved it. I was like, he's so awesome. He's not cute. He will tear your head off. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I watched it today, I probably would turn it off after 10 minutes. Because I've seen clips and I'm like, oh wow, the acting really is bad. I guess like the actors were both drunk the entire time they were filming. Like not just drunk, like wasted, like they could barely remember their lines drunk. But still, like it holds a soft place in my heart, and maybe that's why I haven't seen it in such a long time, because I don't want to ruin that. But there's my first example.
That was the movie that gave us the thing that people still accept as canon, that their names are Mario, and Luigi Mario.
I remember that. I forgot about that.
So mine, the first one that I'm going to talk about, I don't know if I'll have a second, I'll have to think about it, is Final Fantasy XIII. And I'll say it straight up, Final Fantasy XIII is garbage. It's a bad game. But when it first came out, I was enthralled. It does so much wrong. Like, we would be here for a while if I just talked about all the mistakes that it made. But for all of its mistakes, it still managed to capture my interest. It had, like, I don't know, just like the first if you watch the first 5 minutes, you see that they just throw all these weird new phrases around, like "lassie" and "fallacy" and I don't know, just a whole bunch of weird things that don't make any sense. And they just kind of expect you to understand them, and they don't give you enough context to really understand them. Like fantasy stories do that all the time. They have new terms that are that are unique to the world, but you're supposed to put them in a context that helps the readers or players understand what you're saying. And Final Fantasy 13 doesn't do that.
I heard it's a decent story if you like actually know everything, like all the terms and stuff.
Knowing the terms is helpful. Like it has a logbook that you're supposed to read to understand everything. And
logbook though.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like I like reading logbooks. I like reading, and so I didn't mind reading the logbooks to understand everything. But I'm weird that way. Most gamers will not want to read to understand the story.
I just want to say this real quick. Like, everybody loves Bioshocks for those audio tapes or whatever that reveal the story. I hated that concept. I hated it. I didn't catch any of the story that happened because I'm sitting there busy fighting Big Daddy, just freaking out because he's charging at me. And some deep story thing is going on where this lady is doing experiments on children. And I miss all of it because I'm freaking out fighting a Big Daddy. But some people are like, oh man, it's so cool how they do that and then you find out later and it's just so inventive and new. And I'm like, I think it's the dumbest thing ever. Like, that's one of the reasons why I couldn't play Metroid Prime is because all the story was behind, like, blogs that you had to read. And I just lost interest. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but like it's just not for me. That kind of stuff does not work for me. It works for some people, and I'm sure they got
it works for me.
I'm sure they got that inspiration from like BioShock and stuff, but for me that stuff is just like lazy. But anyways.
So anyway, yeah, Final Fantasy 13 does a lot of things wrong, and like you said that playing through it the second time when you know the story makes it better. It actually doesn't. Because the second time, if you beat it already and you know how the story ends, you know that Snow is wrong. Sorry, spoilers, but Snow is wrong. There is no hope. Like, he keeps saying, oh, our mission is to save Cocoon or whatever, and he's wrong. And he just like, I don't know. Snow is the worst character in Final Fantasy, and like everyone says Lightning is terrible. She doesn't talk, so she's fine. And Snow doesn't shut up, and everything that comes out of his mouth is infuriating. And so I've been doing nothing but making fun of it, but I still love this game. I really enjoyed the combat. I know it's not for everyone, because you can say that about pretty much everything in this game. But even with the stupid story and the stuff that doesn't make sense and the logbooks, I still played it all. I beat it twice. In like, I don't know, 2 months I beat it twice. I just had so much fun with it. And I can go back and play it and cringe really hard anytime Snow opens his mouth and Hope cries about his mom and still have a good time and play through the game. So there's mine. Do you have something, Jacob?
I'm not like... I never really get hyped for games, and when I do, I can admit if it's like... Like, I was super hyped for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and that's the first time that's happened in a long, long time. And I can admit that FighterZ has really, like, faults. But anyway, I guess what I was saying with that is that, like, I sometimes just like... Okay, yeah. Joseph's playing now. Yeah, sometimes I just really, like, don't understand. I really don't understand why people don't like some things. Like, some things I can understand, like, people would be, like, iffy towards, like, what's a polarizing... I don't know, just something. Can't think of examples right now. I've always been bad at explaining things, but... Anyway, like, something I think is really well written, this is an anime. Something that's really, I think, I wouldn't say genius, I don't like throwing that term around, but Casher & Sins is super good. Like, I think that it's super well written and the characters are really fleshed out. and the world that he's in is really engaging, and like people don't like it at all. Like I hear people complaining about like plot holes and boring characters. Like I've watched this 4 times. Like if you want to tell me where these plot holes are, then please tell me, because I can't find them. So like I mean, obviously it's like not perfect. It's been like 2 or 3 years since I've seen it. So, like, I think some of the later episodes aren't as strong. Like, at the beginning it's more episodic, where he meets some people and gets to know about them. But even with its, like, flaws or whatever, like, people just are either indifferent towards it or don't like it. Like, when in the past, whenever I wanted to rewatch it, because I watched it because I played Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, like I was just looking up the characters I named, looked up Cashern, and like, oh, they're like Cashern's End is an anime that's airing right now. So the first time I watched it, I loved it, and then I heard that people didn't like it, so I was like, a couple years later, afraid to watch it again, like Jonathan with Super Mario Brothers. I was afraid I wasn't gonna like it anymore. Then I watched it and I'm like, oh, this is really good, what the heck? And then, like, it just keeps happening. The third time I watched it, like, well, it's been a few years, it probably isn't as good. Like, no, it's still really good. Like, I really don't get why people don't like it. Like, it's just one of those things that I guess I'll just have to... I mean, I guess people find that kind of atmosphere and pacing boring. It is slower paced, but the pacing is consistent, so... I don't know, some super anime fanboy who also reviews things will probably, in some alternate reality, like, correct me on all these and tell me exactly why it's wrong, but... yeah, that's...
In a separate universe.
In a separate universe where we have 10 views.
We have 10 views, we're just not at, like, hundreds yet.
We'd have to have, like, over 100,000 people watch it to have that one person that also watched Catherine Sins. Not very popular. Anyway, that's mine.
So... let's see. Another one of mine. I'll do a game this time. Is
Pass it to Joseph.
Switching characters.
Dude, I can't believe we haven't lost one life yet.
we're doing really good.
We don't do this well in this game.
I have never gotten this far, if I'm 100% honest. A game that I really like, that nobody seemed to like at all. It's gonna be a little weird because it did sell pretty well, but it's Uncharted 1.
Ooh, yeah.
If everybody, like, when Uncharted 4 came out, was like, oh, I haven't played any of the original trilogy, and then they did, you know, the Nathan Drake collection before it came out. So everybody was like, oh, I don't have time to play all 3 of them, can I skip any of them? And everybody's like, number 1, it's the worst one, skip it. And I sat there and was like, no, you can't skip the first one, that's where you get to know Drake, that's where you get to know Elena, that's where you get to know Drake and Sully's relationship, and, like, how they interact with each other, and you get to miss, like, the building blocks of Uncharted. Like, it, and I'll admit, like, it's not the perfect game. It has a lot of just, you move 10 feet and then another wave of 10 enemies comes. You move 10 feet and then another wave of 10 enemies comes. 10 waves of enemies come, and,
oh, jeez.
It wasn't one of the first games to do pop and stop shooting undercover, but it was coming in when it was getting popular, and it was still trying. And people and developers were still trying to figure out how to make it like really fun. Like it was a fun concept, and like Gears of War was doing it, and like there's some PS2 games that started doing it, but Uncharted 1 was like leaned heavily on that. Like it had that and platforming. The puzzles in Uncharted 1 aren't really like that insane, but honestly, it's a game that I really love, like just how amazing it is at getting you to care about Nathan Drake. By the end of that game, I was like, Drake is the coolest dude ever. I want to be Drake. And just like how invested I was in the whole just like universe, and like sold, like at the end where you're with is it Eddie Raja, or is it somebody else? I can't remember.
I don't know. I've actually only played the first Uncharted.
You're with the bad guy that's the bad guy before the main bad guy. I can't remember. I think it's Eddie Raja. And all of a sudden, those disgusting skin creatures come out from underneath the ground and start swarming everything after they release they find the treasure that they're looking for. El Dorado, that's what it was. They find El Dorado, and it releases that curse, and like all these nasty, like golem-looking bad guys come out, and they're crawling everywhere. And the game suddenly like kind of switches itself on its head, and you're not hiding and cover anymore. You're just running and gunning with a shotgun, and that was my favorite part of the whole game. Like you're just running as fast as you can. You're not stopping, and these things are just coming at you, and you're just looking behind you and just popping them off and just killing them with a shotgun. And Elena's running behind you, and Nathan's freaking out, going, "I don't know what's going on." I don't know. I really like that game. Again, I know it's not perfect, but if you ask me if you can skip any Uncharted game, I tell you no. If you want to get the Uncharted experience, you have to start from the beginning. You have to get to know Drake. You have to get to know how Drake and Elena mate. You have to get to know how Drake and Sully interact with each other. And you can get that from the other games, but still, seeing it from the beginning and just like... It's pretty well known that Naughty Dog had a really hard time developing Uncharted 1. The PS3 was still new. It had a brand new architecture that nobody had ever used before. They experienced like massive layoffs with the game because people were just burnt out from trying to make the game. So like they leaned really heavily on the story, and it paid off for me. Like I can play a game just for the story. And yeah, so that's another example for me.
I guess I can see where they're coming from. Like, when I was playing it, it was hard for me because I was just like, what you were saying, like, okay, I'm gonna move to this area, oh, another 10 enemies, okay, like, those are done, I guess I can move on, oh wait, no, more enemies, like, I can see where they're coming from. It was still a good game, I think.
Yeah, and I understand where all the criticism comes from, and I'm not saying that I disagree with it. I'm just saying that I enjoyed the shooting enough, and I enjoyed the pacing of the action enough where it wasn't a thing for me. I'm sure if I went back and tried to play it again, I probably would get bored. But I'd still get through it because I love the story so much, and I generally love Nathan Drake as a character. He's like a real person to me. So yeah, it's one of those games that I always look back fondly on.
Wait, did we just beat it?
Are you kidding me? I've never seen this.
I don't think we chose a long enough game for this.
What do we do?
Defeat the hard mode and you will be true ninjas. That's what we gotta do.
Hard mode?
We're not gonna get past hard mode, are we?
Yeah, we'll just,
Shredder's taunting us.
we'll just play until we're done with this.
Read
Normal mode.
I wanted to see what. Oh wait, nah. How long it took. We can
looks like
switch.
it took us 45 minutes. Holy crap!
We can switch games for the lot. Oops.
No, that's not.
Just get out. Can you get it out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
What's like the main menu? But was it like?
Yeah, hit reset. Push up on reset.
As you can see, we can choose from a plethora of games.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's a super short game we can play?
We don't have to beat anything. We can just play something while we talk.
Yeah.
Play Pokemon. No.
Here's one.
Oh goodness, I've never seen this in action. Okay, so you guys have any other mentions?
I had kind of a weird one. So this isn't just like a game. This is a part of a game that everyone hates, and I just really liked it. So Twilight Princess is maybe one of the least popular Zelda games. Like it still has it's still a good game, but everyone's like, compared to Wind Waker and Ocarina and everything else, it's not one of the best. But it's still, it's a Zelda game. It's still pretty good. But everyone hates the opening. Like, everyone hates the opening. There's no, except for me, there's no one argues that the opening is bad. But I've always enjoyed it. It's obviously very slow. It takes like 3 hours for you to get to the first dungeon, something like that. And I understand why everyone hates it, because it's really slow and nothing happens and you're just hanging out with a bunch of random kids. But I really connected with Link in that moment, because I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, and those kids that everyone hates kind of just reminded me of my nieces and nephews. And I felt like I could connect with Link because Link was the cool uncle, and I'm not a cool person, but when I'm with my nieces and nephews, they think I'm cool. And when I'm playing as Link with all these kids who think he's their cool uncle, I was able to really connect with it. So I really like the opening of Twilight Princess. It's one of the reasons it's one of my favorite Zelda games, is because I really felt like I could be Link, because Link was very similar to me, except he could kick people's butts. But I don't know, I really liked Twilight Princess's opening, and not many people do. So yeah, there's my second one, I guess.
This is a super old game, so I'm gonna pass it to Johnny. You're gonna freaking love these controls.
Oh gosh.
There is no momentum at all.
Oh no! I thought I could go back. He does not. He's not. Like...
You have to press the run button like other Mario games. But
oh gosh.
I guess a game that I really
so
like
heavy.
that no one else likes is Final Fantasy II for, I don't know, like we got it when it hit like the Game Boy, right? Or the PlayStation 1 or whenever it came out in America.
Okay, hold on. What's that?
What, the question mark?
No, like his fall.
No, yeah. I told you
he's like
just...
1,000 pounds. Mario never falls that fast.
It's like Mega Man 1 when you fall down. Yeah, like...
No!
not Mega Man, Final Fantasy II is a game that I thought was kind of like whatever. Like, I would try and play it 1 year, and then I'd get like 30 minutes in and never play it again. And then the next year, I'd wait for next year. I wouldn't never play it again, but... finally, 1 year, somehow,
No! You suck.
GG. Somehow I, completely, blew through the game. And I don't really do that. For me, games are kind of like a snack thing. I'll play a little bit at a time. Unless it's, super fun. And I beat Final Fantasy II in 2 days. 2 or 3 days. And I wasn't expecting that at all. It was just so fun. And I'm like, this is the game that everyone hates?
Why would you do that to me?
Like, it gives you so many options, and like that's what people like, right? Like, they like being able to have options and choose things. Like, I'm sure there's more of an argument towards it since a lot of people have a negative reaction to it, but for me, I'm just like, hey, if I wanted to, I could make this huge, gigantic guy that's obviously supposed to be like for damage and make him into a mage if I wanted to.
I'm scared.
I can't really say much about it, like, because I don't know all the arguments. Like, for a while, I thought like people had died down with it being the black sheep of the Final Fantasy family, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess people are fine with it now. And then later on, like, I kept seeing more and more like top 10s come out, like, oh, Final Fantasy 2 is one of the worst Final Fantasy games ever, and a few other people making like entire videos about it. I'd like to make something explaining why I think Final Fantasy 2 is actually a good game, but I just really like it. Like, you can do anything you want. And there was another aspect of the game that I really liked. What do you do in Final Fantasy 2?
Jump on you?
Grind.
Oh, I can't.
No, you can. You
Yeah,
just
you're
didn't.
I did it wrong.
Yeah,
Boxes
people complain about grinding. Like, oh, you have to grind, I guess, in order to
Oh.
progress in the game. And I never felt that. I never really grinded because I just thought, oh, nice. I thought the battle system was good enough where I just wanted to experiment anyway. And so, like, the battles in general, for me, like, you actually have to pay attention to them. Like, unlike a lot of other RPGs, when you're grinding, you just press A and, like, read a book or something. You can't do that with... you can do that with Final Fantasy 2 if you want to hate yourself, but, like... For me, I think it's more like Mario and Luigi, like the Mario and Luigi games.
Superstar Saga.
Yeah, Superstar Saga, I guess specifically. If we had to pick one. So in that game, you can't press like A over and over again. The battle system requires you to pay attention at all times. And I felt like that was with me, and
No.
you have to jump over it, don't...
No!
Like, I always paid attention to when there were battles, because, like, as soon as somebody got hurt, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna heal you, because I want to be a good mage. If anything, I felt really overpowered, because I would just do that over and over again. Like, I just wanted my mage to be really good. I wanted people to...
How do you jump over him?
You have to do a run and jump. You have to hold the run button.
There's a run? I
Yeah.
tried run, but you didn't do anything.
I think you can
I'll do it. I can do this.
So yeah, anyway, like, Final Fantasy
there we
2
go.
is a game
I
that
get it now.
I had to pay attention at all times. I guess because it caught my attention and never let go is why I beat it so quickly. So, anyway, that's just another one. So let me show you how a master does it.
No!
Do you have anything else, Johnny?
Oh, what? Oh, you can't.
I killed you.
This game is super... Oh my gosh!
I wonder, like, I kept thinking, like, is it the Game Boy hardware that makes this game so horrible? He weighs like 1,000 pounds.
No,
I think
dude.
it's like one of the first games designed for the Game Boy.
Yeah.
Besides like Tetris.
Super Mario Land 2 improved a lot, and a lot of people like it. A lot of people still like this game. I don't mind it, just as a whatever game, but...
I look so bad compared to you. You're just making me look like
Well,
I've never
I've
played any games before in my life.
been playing platformers a lot.
Okay, let's see. There was another one that I was thinking of.
Oh, dang it.
Let's see, was it? I was sitting there thinking of it while I was playing, and then it dropped because I was told to talk. And then my brain said, what?
Serious.
Oh, right. I remember now. So, my choice is another. My next one is another game. And I think besides like Mystic Quest, it's the other black sheep in Final Fantasy games, and it's Final Fantasy VIII. It's my favorite Final Fantasy. And everybody seems to hate it. It's either, you love 7 and you're a true Final Fantasy fan, or you love, 6 and you're the true Final Fantasy fan. What was the time to leave?
Yeah. Yeah, just a second.
So yeah, it's either you love, Final Fantasy 7, or you love Final Fantasy 6, or 3 in the US. And those are your only options. If you love any of the other games more, then you're not a real Final Fantasy fan. And I'm just, speaking in hyperbole, obviously. I mean, of course, it's not true, but sometimes it feels that way. Whenever you hear people talk about, their favorite Final Fantasy games.
What?
And they sit there and they name off everything, or, their top 10, and Final Fantasy VIII isn't even in their top 10. You're like, well, come on. I'm like, well, come on. I'm not saying you do, because you probably don't like Final Fantasy. You're one person that listens to this. You probably like Final Fantasy 9 or
Final
maybe
Fantasy
10.
9 is actually not well. It's well considered, but a lot of people kind of. Anyway.
Yeah. But anyways, so 8 came at a point in my life where I was starting to become who I am. Let's see. When did we start playing it? I beat it this summer. You did that in one try. I mean, screw you, man. I apparently should never play video games ever again.
The speedrun for this is
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
And I spent 5 minutes dying to one Sphinx. But anyways, so it was when I was 14, I think, when I was first playing it. Becoming, finding out who I am, going through life experiences that shape who you are as a person. And something about Squall connected with me. Really, really connected with me. To this day, I still consider myself the real-life version of Squall. I'm always having internal monologues while people are talking, and people will say, hello, are you listening? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Or, I get annoyed that they're trying to talk to me because I'm talking to myself. I'm like, just, yeah, sure, whatever, shut up. And he's the quiet type. He's not like Cloud, the quiet type. He's definitely more introverted and definitely more, what's the word I'm looking for? Withdrawn and,
Shoot.
what's the other word I'm trying to think of? He thinks about his actions a lot and what they do to other people.
Momentum.
Introspective. That's the word I was thinking of. He's very introspective. He thinks a lot about what his actions do to other people, and constantly thinking about what he's doing that's either right or wrong,
Okay.
and how he can fix it. And the situation going on, he thinks about it to himself. He doesn't really speak about it aloud. But people still kind of look up to him. So anyways, Squall's really introspective. Is that the same word I was thinking of?
Oh my gosh.
And people still look up to him. He still takes charge, even though he sometimes doesn't really want to. But somebody is always like ahead of him at his own game. Cypher is like the mirror version of Squall, right? But like he does everything better. He, in the game when they first fight in like the beginning scene, he's the first one to strike and actually hit Squall, and then Squall retaliates back. And like the beginning mission for the seed entry level mission, when you get Cypher, he's like super overpowered and strong. He doesn't really even need a GF. Like you can equip GFs to the other people in your party, and you don't even have to equip it to Cypher, and he'll still like just trample all over people. He is really bad at talking with people, and I am too, even to this day. But he still cares about people deeply, even though he has a hard time showing it. He still tries his hardest to do what's right. He still has a moral compass, and
Famous levels up.
he gains friends along the way, and he doesn't have to change who he is. They accept him for who he is. They even, like, at the end of, they don't even remark about how he is. They just accept him. And, I mean, he even has Quistis that, like, has a crush on him at the beginning of the game, and he doesn't even know or realize it. And when she tells him, he's like, whatever, I don't care.
Okay.
I wish I've never been that cool, but I've always wanted to be. But, yeah, like, I really... Oh my gosh. Mario, that's so cheesy. I connected really strongly with Squall, and I also... It's not the only reason I like the game. I really like the junction system. There's millions and millions... Well, not millions. There's hundreds of videos that go into detail probably better than I ever will be able to about why the junction system is good and why it's bad. The different systems in the game and how they work to either make the game good or bad. And some people, again, love it. Some people hate it. But everything about that game is, like, perfect for me. The junction system, it's super complicated, and the first time it explains it to you, you don't understand what it just said. You're lost, confused, and you're just like, okay, whatever. And you don't really even use it the first time you play the game. Like, if you were my age, like 14, like, I'm sure even some people that were older when they played it, like, still didn't understand it because the game does a really bad job of explaining it. I'll admit that. Like, it's a really complex system, and trying to explain it in one text tutorial just doesn't do it justice. And the whole tutorial is in a menu. Like, most games can teach you their systems in-game while you're playing it, like Mega Man X does, and most other games, like with gameplay or something. Or even just, like, having a character take you by the hand and show you things. Like, in this, like, the character taking you by the hand is just text saying, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. And, it's not the best tutorial ever made, for sure. It could use a lot of work. What? You're stuck. But the junction system, once you understand it, allows you to break the game completely. And some people don't like that. Some people think that makes for bad game balance, and that you can just make the game way too easy, and that, the game, like, if you know what you're doing, a 40-hour game becomes a 10-hour game. But figuring that out for the first time as a teenager was the first time I ever had, like, that light bulb moment in a game where, like, it clicked. Everything clicked. I got it. I was like, oh my gosh, if I equip Ultima to my attack, like, my attack will be the best it can be, and if I get 100 Ultimas, I'll have the best attack in the game. Like, my attack will be so strong that, like, it'll do the max amount of damage, and if I equip 10 or 100 Kuragas to my life, like, I'll have an insanely high life stat or health stat, and, like, using the GF abilities, like the card ability to refine items and stuff like that to... I mean, like, that's literally how I get the best items in the game, is using that card refine ability from, I think it's Quetzalcoatl or the Brothers, one of those. That's literally how I get, like, Lionheart and I think it's Renoa's best weapon. That's literally how I get him, is that. I don't farm for those stuff. I get the stuff that refines into it, or the cards that refine into it, and I use that, and then I get it. And even then, like, I still do that. I still try to min-max my stats and go crazy and have the most strong characters as possible with all the best stats. But I still, every time I play it, and I play it almost once a year. Like, I haven't played it this year, but I played it last year, and I don't beat it every time I play it, but I do play it. Every time I've beaten it, I spend at least 80 hours. I do all the side quests, I do all the GF missions, I do everything in that game, and it's never been like a 10-hour experience for me. It's always been like the entire thing. I do everything in that game that game has to offer. And I mean, like, if you really want to have that game be hard, try getting Diablos when you're at, like, level 30.
Oh, okay.
That will be the hardest battle you will ever fight. And, like, the stronger you are as a character, the harder that battle will be.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah, like, just... There's still things that you can do in that game that will make the game ridiculously hard, even no matter how strong you are. And, like, my favorite part about that game, it's not the junction system, it's not the battle system, it's not, you know, the unique draw system, or... I do love the story, but my favorite part about that game is that anybody who does play it has a different team that they say is the best. A different team of 3 of the characters that they say is the best in the game. No matter who you see play it, it's always different. My team is Squall, Renoa, and Irvin. Or however you say his name. I've never been able to understand how you properly say his name. Irvine or Irvin or something. That's my perfect team. Like, I can destroy the game with that team. And even then, like, if somebody else says, oh yeah, that's my team too, the way you junction your GFs to those characters changes the game completely again. Like, some people will junction this GF to this character, and it just, there's so many possibilities for character, like your team loadout for, like, who's on your team, and then what GFs go to who, and how you divide your GFs. Like, some people will just give all the, like, 10 GFs to one person, and then the other 2 characters will get 1 or 2 GFs. Some people split them up evenly. Some people will give, you know, they do so many different things. And no matter, like I said, no matter who you're watching playing it, there's gonna be something different from the last person you saw playing it. Whether it's their characters, who they're junctioning, how they use the junction abilities to those characters, how they do battles with their team, and, like, yeah.
As you can tell, he really, really likes Final Fantasy VIII.
I do. Obviously, I've been talking about it for like 30 minutes now?
At least 10 minutes.
But yeah. And again, it's a game that not many people actually think is that great. There's plenty of videos online that you can find that say that's the worst Final Fantasy game. But yeah. So, let's see.
I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, we could just sit here and play some more games if you want, but...
Holy... I hate this game.
Why did you pick it?
Because it's short, and it's only 4 worlds. I'm almost there. Now I have to start over.
I think we should play Fighters, but this is still cool. I've never seen the end of Turtles in Time, so that was crazy.
Me either. I don't even think I got past like the first, like,
I
what
think,
is it, 2 million BC? I've never got past that.
yeah, I think the farthest I've ever gotten was the sewers, because I never like was able to figure out how to like not get destroyed by all the landmines and stuff that are in the water. And we like never died. That was so weird. Yeah, I think that's a good end. So, once again, this is the Megabyte Bros podcast. If you're watching this, please leave a comment and tell us what we can do better, what we can add on. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want an audio version, we can try to figure that out too. But, yeah, until next time, have fun gaming, and we'll see you next week. Or talk to you next week, I guess you could say. Whatever.
Yeah. See ya.